We left off yesterday partway into chapter 3, The Family Under the Bridge. Come, come, said Armand impatiently. Chestnuts are wormy. Do you think Father Christmas is going to wait until midnight for us? We've still got a long way to go to Levier. Oh, I think I've read this, haven't I? Oh, yep, I've read this. So I'm going to pop over to the next page. They saw tables piled high with toys. They were entering the domain of Father Christmas. On tiptoe, reverently, they followed the old hobo to the studio where a child could have his picture taken with the saint, providing his parents paid for it. Armand peeped in. The children stopped breathing. He is not here, said the hobo in a disappointed voice. But even as he spoke, Father Christmas himself came around the counters. He was dressed in a long red robe that reached his ankles, and a curly white beard covered his chest. His mustache was waved and waxed, but his black eyes were snapping as he shook his fist at two boys running ahead of him. "And if I catch you playing with the electric trains again, I'll put you out of the store," he threatened them. The Calquette children were frightened. They shrank behind Armand, and as Father Christmas approached them, Evelyn burst into frightened tears, and Jojo growled. At the sight of Armand, the angry lines left the forehead of the Father Christmas and blithely curled around his lips. His eyes softened with pleasure and amusement. "Ho, ho, ho," he laughed, in a way that Father Christmas should laugh. "Look at whose dear old grandpapa has come to see me today." And he went on with his ho, 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 until the children were afraid he had a coughing spell. Armand pulled the little Calquettes in front of him. One by one, Evelyn stopped crying and Jojo stopped growling. "You'd never believe where I found them," said Armand, "but they wanted to come see you." The children's eyes were shining again. They were speechless with delight. "Have you been good children this year?" asked Father Christmas. "We've tried to be," said Susie. "Sometimes we get mixed up about what's good and what isn't," confessed Paul. "I did pull Jojo's tail, but I won't do it anymore," confessed Evelyn. Father Christmas was pleased. "I like truthful children," he said. "All the rest of them declare they've been angels all year. Now, what do you want me to bring you for Christmas?" "We want a house," said Susie. "Will you please bring us a house, Father Christmas?" "Ho, ho, ho," replied Father Christmas. "That should be agreeable to your parents. And what kind of house do you want? A doll house?" He glanced down at Jojo. "Or a dog house?" "A real house," said Paul. "A house we can live in." "With walls and a roof," said Susie. "And windows," added Evelyn. "I like to watch out the window when it's time for Susie and Paul to come home from school." Father Christmas stopped his jolly ho-ho-ho and stared at them. "Who ever heard of children wanting a real house for Christmas?" he asked. "What about a drum for the lad and dolls for you girls?" "No," insisted Susie. "It has to be a real house." Father Christmas rolled his black eyes around and twirled the ends of his mustache. "It will have to be dolls or games," he said. "My little donkey can't carry a house on his back. You know that." The children's faces fell. You have to remember they're in Paris. Then Susie remembered her manners. "Thank you anyway, Father Christmas," she said in a quivering voice. "I guess we don't want anything but a house." "I do," said Paul. "I want something to eat." "And I want a doll," said Evelyn. Father Christmas started to speak, but a pretty salesgirl interrupted him. "You better get into the studio or Monsieur Latour will fire you. There are 4 children waiting to have their pictures taken." Father Christmas patted each red head in farewell, and then he said to Armand, "Our Monsieur Latour is looking for a night watchman for a friend's building. Do you want the job?" "Oh, la, la," exclaimed Armand. "I don't come here to ask Father Christmas for a job. Goodbye, Camille." He let the children down the steps again, but now they were strangely silent. Even Jojo's ears drooped and his tail dragged. The main floor was less crowded as they walked between the counters. An elegant floor walker caught sight of the vagabonds. He hurried to them. He made a little noise as he tapped the immaculate white handkerchief peeping from his breast pocket. "Are you in the wrong store?" he asked haughtily. "I should say we're in the wrong store," replied Armand. "We brought our dog in here to ride the escalators, and all I see is those crowded elevators." He whistled to Jojo. "Come, boy, we'll take you over to Printemps." Jojo growled at the floor walker. The little group headed for the great glass door of which the store was so proud. They shivered as they stepped outside in the bitter cold. "There's a fancy Christmas window out here you should see," said Armand to the children. He wanted to cheer them up because they were so silent and forlorn. He led them to the main doors facing the royal square. A crowd of people blocked the window, but the tramp and his companions wormed their way to the front. The children's eyes bulged. Such a grand sight they had never seen. A scroll near the front of the window said that the scene was the marriage of Tartan. It was truly a wedding out of a storybook. Two mechanical figures, a man and a woman dressed in gorgeous white costumes of long ago, stood in a high pavilion. They bowed sedately to each other while music tinkled romantically. But even more remarkable was the parade of tiny figures below the lovers. They were white-capped cooks, bearing wondrous dishes to the wedding feast. One carried a gaudy peacock, which raised and lowered its neck in time to the tune. Another held up a great crab that clicked out of the rhythm with its claws. And yet another carried a cake even fancier than the Christmas log in the bakery window. Each little cook was so proud of his dish that he waltzed around and around as he paraded. "I bet they will live in a beautiful castle after the wedding," sighed Susie, gazing at the lovely bride and groom. "I'm hungry," said Paul. "Me too," agreed Evelyn. The dog that should have been white was drooling on a man's shoe. A crafty look came into Armand's eyes. "I bet you know the words of the tune they're playing, he coaxed. "It's Dame Tartan. If you sing it for me, I'll get you something to eat." Paul put his hand over his mouth. Evelyn put her finger in hers. Susie shyly shook her head. "There are too many people here," she said. "Then sing for them," said Armand. "Don't be silly, starlings. Without a song in your throats, open your little beaks and sing like little canaries." So Paul pulled his hand from his mouth and began to sing in a thin but firm voice. Then Susie joined him in sweet high tone. Evelyn took her finger out of her mouth and chirped with them. They sang like three little birds on a branch in the springtime. And when they had finished 2 verses, Armand clapped hard. Then he pulled his beret off of his head and held it out to one person after another in the crowd. What was he doing? Huh? I'm sorry, Mia, I just didn't hear you. Wyatt?
He's collecting their money.
Right, he's having the children sing in the streets, and he's holding out his hat and hoping people will give them money. Have you ever seen that before in the streets?
Yeah.
Where people will perform and they have maybe a bucket or a basket or a hat?
Like, I went to the country and me and my dad and my brother went to a baseball game and we were walking back to our car and go back here. We saw someone playing music and in the road
Mm-hmm.
and he had like a bucket and it had like cut out holes and then if you looked at it you saw some
Money, people put money in it. So that's what he was doing. He was having them sing and he was making some money. Let's see. "Alms," he begged. "Alms for a good old grandfather with 3 fatherless children to clothe and feed, and an orphan dog." The people gave generously because they felt the spirit of Christmas. The coins clinked into the hobo's beret. The concert had been so successful that Armand waited until the first audience left and a new one came along to look at the window. Then he had the children sing again, and again he passed his beret for coins. This might have gone on for some time if the haughty floor walker hadn't come out of the store to see why the crowd around the window was bigger than ever. He scowled at the quartet. "On your way," he ordered them with a wave of his hand and his nose in the air. "No begging in front of the door." Armand did not mind leaving. His beret was heavy with francs. Francs are money in Paris, which he funneled into his pocket.
You could have made a lot more.
So here's a picture of Armand in the streets collecting the money. "Come, canaries," he said. "You are good children. I'll treat you to pancakes." He took them around the corner to where a Breton man stood behind a stand making thin pancakes on 2 round black irons. "I'll have a dozen for a starter." How many is a dozen?
12.
12. ordered Armand, but he had to show his money before the Breton would pour the batter on an iron. One by one, the man made the pancakes so slowly that the children thought they would die of hunger before he had made a full dozen. The smell was even better than that of the perfume in the air. The cakes were big as scooter wheels and thin as silk. The Breton spread each one with butter and jelly, then folded it twice. Everyone got 3 pancakes. Then Jojo whined pitifully, and they remembered that he was probably hungry too. So Armand ordered another dozen pancakes. They started back, munching happily on their pancakes, but Jojo kept on whining because he had swallowed each of his in one big gulp. When they reached a corner where the crowd of shoppers were waiting for buses, Armand suggested to the children that they entertain the weary people with Christmas carols. The little coquettes were less shy this time. They sang as loud as they could. As before, the hobo passed his beret around. "Alms," he begged, "so a poor old man can feed his starving children." But as the coins fell into his cap, an angry fist rapped against his back. Armand was frightened because he thought it was a policeman, but it was only another beggar as ragged as himself. A big box hung from his neck, and in it, a little monkey dressed in red and green suit made faces through the screen. So this is the gentleman that tapped him on the back. "What do you mean cutting into my territory?" demanded the man with the monkey. "You're stealing my show." Armand tried to make peace. "Now let's cross swords, Titi," he said. "There's enough of the crowd for both of us. The kind of people who like to listen to choirs wouldn't be interested in watching a monkey make faces anyway." Titi was not soothed. "Children or monkeys, what's the difference? And this is my corner." But the children did not join in the quarrel, although Jojo barked at the monkey, and the monkey made his worst face at the dog. And then the monkey gave the children a sad smile and held out its green cap to them. "Oh, he wants money too," said Susie. "And there's a bowl on top of the box for coins. Please give the monkey some money, Armand." "Indeed I will not," snapped Armand. "Please, please, monsieur," begged Evelyn. "The little monkey wants to buy some pancakes too." By this time, most of the shoppers had boarded their buses. Armand tried to hustle his choir away, but the children wouldn't let him leave until he had dropped a coin in the bowl for the monkey. "That Titi is a fake," explained the hobo as they walked down the street. "He's just using the monkey to make money for himself."
He's doing the same to them.
I was waiting for someone for it to click. He's doing the same thing with the children as the man is doing with his monkey.
Like, let's say it's in the middle and I'm waiting to go to bed.
Yeah.
He just wants the money that he's trying to have.
Good job, Wyatt. And he rattled the coins in his pocket. And when they came to the chestnut vendor, he treated them again. They waited as long as they could before eating the chestnuts because the hot shells warmed their hands. "Now remember," Armand cautioned the children, "not a word about this to your mama, and I'll take you with me every day." And when Madame Coquette came wearily down the steps that evening, the children rushed to meet her. "I saved a pancake for you, Mama," cried Susie, digging into the pocket of her faded coat. "It's cold now, but it still tastes so sweet." Paul reached into his coat pocket too. "And I brought you chestnuts, Mama," he said. "They're cold too, but they'll taste good." Evelyn began to sob. "I didn't save anything for you, Mama. I forgot." Madame Coquette hugged her. "Never mind. I've brought something for you." And then her voice grew suspicious. "Where did you get the pancake and the chestnuts?" Susie and Paul lowered their eyes. "We sang songs and people dropped money in Monsieur Armand's cap," said Evelyn. Madame Coquette flung the children's gifts to the ground. She angrily advanced toward the hobo who was stretched out on his canvas. "You've turned my children into beggars. You've been using them for begging on the streets." Now, Madame," Armand tried to quiet her. "When the grand singers at the opera get paid for their songs, is that begging? I'll give you your share." But Madame Coquette was busy tearing down canvases and gathering up blankets. "I don't want any of your ill-gotten money. We are going to leave here," she cried. "I forbid you to have anything more to do with him." The children began to wail. Even Jojo howled dismally because he seemed to sense that there wouldn't be any more pancakes for him. Armand proudly rose to his knobby shoes. "No need, madame," he said haughtily as he had spoken to the floor walker. "I'll leave myself and save you the trouble. I know when I'm not welcome." It took him very little time to pack his baby buggy. "Don't go," cried Susie. "Please don't let him go, Mama." "He's our grandpa," sobbed Evelyn. "He's all we have but you," added Paul. But Armand thrust out his bearded chin. "You just keep your old bridge, madame," he said. It'll be a long time until you find anything else. Goodbye, starlings." Then he bumped his buggy down the quay. He clattered it as noisily as he could so he could drown out the sound of the children's laments and the dogs howling. So that's where we have to leave off.